The purpose of this tutorial is to provide you with step-by-step instructions on how you can create and manage loads within ITS Dispatch. Topics covered include creating loads and updating statuses, assigning a carrier, creating load documents, and dispatching a load.
So we're going to go new active load. So at this point in time, I'm going to create, sorry about that, guys. I got a driver load. I'm going to create a brokered load using a external carrier. And the difference is either I've got a company driver load or I got an external carrier load. Other than that, the rate and load confirmation is going to look quite similar. The bill to customer information is going to be the same, and the invoice is going to be the same. So starting with the new active load, the top left-hand side where it says load number, I cannot put a load number in there. It will automatically go in sequence to the next load number once I save it as an open active load. So if you do not have a bill to customer in the database, you can click on the green dots with a white plus, add the new bill to. Once you save it, don't just exit out. Once you save it, then you can type in the first couple of initials of the bill to customer's name and it'll automatically populate. Okay, so right now we have Andy's Dreaming. If I need to change anything with the blue dots with an I, click on that. I can go inside, I can change a phone number or any information. All right, simple as that. Next, the person who is logging in is going to show their name as a dispatcher. Now I can change that dispatcher to Craig or whoever if I had them in the system. Okay, so when you log in, and for those who set up users, I generally suggest people to use their given name as the username. For one, they won't forget it. For two, it's going to show up here as a dispatcher, and it's going to show up on a rate and load confirmation, which you'll see shortly. Now, under Andy's Dreaming, he is assigned Andy as a sales rep as well, so that automatically populates. You can have up to 2 sales reps on a load, okay, in which get a commission, or none at all, all right? The status is open once I save it, and again, it will assign a load number in sequence to the next one. WO represents like a work order or reference number. So say Andy's Dreaming wants his load number or reference number to show up. Okay, I can put it in there. It's going to show up on a rate and load confirmation, and it's going to show up on a invoice for the load. Other numbers to the right of WO, if you hover your mouse over the pen and paper, it shows other numbers. So say in this case, I need to have something else show up. I don't want all this stuff, so I'm going to just unselect it. What do I got? Container number. I want a container number to show up. All right. My apologies. I saved this from the last one I did, and it will save it changes. All right. So at this time, I just want a container number, and I'm going to say container number, and I'd like it to show up on a customer confirmation. I'd like it to show up on a BOL, rate and load confirmation, and an invoice. Click OK, it disappears. When I save it, you will see the number here on your dispatch board, and such as the WO number. So when Andy's Dreaming's loads there and he calls in and says, hey, you know, I've got load number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you're going to look at your dispatch board, and again, you're going to see that load number. All right. So excuse the at HST. This is for our Canadian customers. This is the only place that we have any tax implications at all. It's just for an HST. All right. So line haul. This is basically a flat rate. Okay, and you can change it to like rate per mile, put in the rate like $2.25 a mile, 1,000 miles, it will then give you your end result. Or keep it as a line haul rate, which is a flat rate. I'm going to say $10,000. P&Ds represents picks and drops, does not represent 1, 2, or 3, it represents a dollar amount. So I'm going to say there's a $500 additional pick or drop. So it's giving my total at the end. This will show up on the rate and load confirmation as a breakdown and then the total rate. FSC represents fuel surcharge. I can do it by a dollar amount or I can do it by a percentage. So I'm going to just say 18% of 10,000 is 1,800, giving me my total rate of 12,300. Other charges gives me the capability of having like lumper fees. Okay, lumper fees, we're going to say $100. Okay, and we're going to say okay. That added my additional charges. And as well, by clicking on the dollar symbol, we can have advances, etc. All right, make sure you say okay, and it's going to save it here. So our next point, now for those of you that are concerned, either for either an external carrier load or even a company driver load, your company driver or the external carrier will not see your bill to information for your invoice. What we're doing here, guys, when you create your new active load, you're actually creating an invoice, you're creating a carrier pay or driver pay, a rate and load confirmation, okay, all by completing just this information here. So at this point in time, we're just going to say A for assign later, because say I don't have a carrier at this point in time. So I'm just going to keep it as assign later. I'm going to put in my information, or require a boat hauling trailer. I can do my carrier fee by clicking on the dollar symbol. So a line haul rate, well, let's just, what do we got there? I'm going to say 8,500. We're going to give him the 500 for the P&Ds. Then we're going to give him the $1,800 for the fuel surcharge. Okay, for a rate of 10,800. Go down and say okay. That's going to be the rate that we're going to offer out to my carrier. So we'll come back to adding the carrier there in a moment. Our next step, you should do this in a systematic way. Our next step is adding a shipper. Okay, so if the shipper is not in the database, clicking on the green dot with a white plus, add the shipper's information, and then you go to the box below and type in the shipper's information. So at this time, I'm going to select Viking out of Coconut Grove, Florida. We're going to have him pick up. We're going to just say he picked up on the 25th. And we're going to select the time. We're going to just say at 5 a.m. You can put in a description if you so wish to do so. I'm going to say like a 56-foot Viking. It's going to be a truckload. Quantity is going to be 1. It's going to be 6,800 pounds. And if you're offering credit, or not credit check, excuse me, Cargo Shield, which is extra insurance, you can sign up for that, and that's through the Truckstop. This time we'll talk about that a little bit later. All right, so now you've got some shipping information in there. You do not have to put this in here. If you do not want to, you can leave it out. All right, and it should mirror everything that you just put in. So we've got 56-foot Viking. Any shipping notes you have, like handle with care, PO numbers or purchase order numbers, you can put those in here. Custom brokers, if you're moving freight into Canada or Mexico, again, you can add it live on the go by clicking on the green dot with a white plus. And again, when you see that anywhere in the system, you can add a new bill to, a new carrier, shipper, consignee, custom broker, and when we're in the drivers, you can add a driver, truck, and trailer. All right, our next step is adding a consignee. My wife likes this one. We have Andy's Dreaming in Penetang, Ontario, and just so happens to be, we're going to have that boat arrive here, say, on Monday, or it should have arrived yesterday, on Monday. All right, so now we can select our time, and it's good to use your times and dates, especially if you pick up on the same day and deliver on the same day, okay? That way it recognizes the time difference. So at this point in time, we have most of our information in. Down at the bottom, you have pro miles and empty miles. If you wish to see the miles between where you're picking up and when you're delivering. If you needed to show, say, from Miami, and you wanted to show how far it was from Miami, click on there. So from Miami to Coconut Grove is 8 miles. Brings in the empty miles. So if the customer is arguing about wants a mileage rate or whatever the case may be, that's how you can do that. At this point in time, we're going to click Save. We have now just saved our next load, and presently it's got a sign later, so I have neither a driver or a carrier on it at this moment. To go back inside of the load, I can click on the load number. Going back inside at this point in time, I can add any other information, or I can go to the bottom. I can add a carrier. Okay, actually right now I'm going to go to add a carrier. So, actually, before we even do that, let's go to truckstop.com. Say I needed to post this load to the Truckstop, and I have a truckstop.com website, okay? I put in the Truckstop email address and password. Once saved, I then have the ability to post this load from Coconut Grove, Florida to Penetang, Ontario, okay? But you do need to have a Truckstop account, all right? If you need assistance with that, please, again, give us a call. I'll be glad to help out with that. So I'm going to say now I've got a carrier that just called in. They're accepting the load. I can put them into the database by clicking on the green dot. We're going to click on Alabon Boat Haulers. Again, the rate's going to be 10,800 Canadian dollars, or I can change it to US dollars. All right. And then again, we're going to click Save. I'm going to just refresh my page so it recognizes Alabon Boat Haulers. And how to refresh your page, guys, when you're in, say, Delivered or Completed, or you're anywhere, you click on the ITS dispatch and it's going to bring you back to your main dispatch board. All right, so I'm going to click back on the load number. I now have Alabon Boat Haulers in there. And once I put a carrier or driver in, it gives me the capability to email it. Clicking on email, again, making sure I have the correct email address. If you want to make sure that you're getting it, send yourself a copy. If you receive it but the carrier's not, you know it's because their email is rejecting it, okay? They would need to change up that email address. So this is one way of sending a rate and load confirmation out. The other is going down to the bottom right-hand side, clicking print. It's going to open up a print preview through Adobe Reader. And this is what a rate and load confirmation would look like for an external carrier load. First of all, I have a logo on mine, so it's got my logo, my name up at the top left-hand side, and then it shows a rate and load confirmation. It shows the dispatcher who is dispatching this load, the load number, the phone number of the dispatcher to return a call, the ship date, okay, today's date, the fax number, email address of the dispatcher, showing the work order number or reference number that the customer wants to refer this load to, shows Alabon Boat Haulers, the phone number, fax number, equipment type, the agreed rate, US dollars, and the load status presently is open, okay, showing all of the shipper's information, custom brokers, again, any shipping notes like Go to Door 3 and See Bob, the consignee's information, and then any dispatch notes that is added to that preferences and note section by an administrator, and these will be permanent notes that will always show up. We have under the other numbers, the container number shows up. Then we have the breakdown of the carrier fee, the line haul rate, 8,500, fuel surcharge 1,800, picks and drops 500, for a total of 10,800. Load accepted by, date and signature, their driver's name, cell phone number, truck and trailer number. Now, if you do wish to see this on there, the driver's name, cell, truck number, it is as simple as going into notes, contacts. I can put the dispatcher's name, their driver's name, and let's just go Andy, phone number 888-338-9656. Okay, any email address, let's go 707, and let's go save. Okay, once we have done that, again, I'm going to go print. It's going to open up the print preview through Adobe Reader, and the other information that we just added to it is going to show up. I'll show you where again. All right, so there's your rate and load confirmation. Oh, my apologies, it shows up here. it would, if I had the rest of the information, so I got the driver's phone number and the truck notes under the truck number. All right, so that is your rate and load confirmation. If you need to email it, you can actually go up to File, Save As, when it eventually opens, save it to your desktop. Once you have saved it to your desktop, you can then go to your email source and assign it to an email, okay? As easy as that. Exit out of there. Now that was a rate and load confirmation for an external carrier load. If you need to do a bill of lading, clicking on the BOL, you can put in your own bill of lading number. You can select if there's a third-party billing, the carrier who is going to be assigned to, prepaid or collect or third party, the origin, destination. If there's any emergency response number, you can put it in there, prepaid or collect, the value, any notes, You can click the items. So if you needed to put more items in here, like 2 props, etc., and then you're going to click on the printer. This is going to open up a print preview, again, through Adobe Reader. Okay, and this, again, is what it's going to look like here. I'm quick. There we go. Okay, there's your bill of lading. Okay, again, if you have a company logo, it's going to show up here on the left-hand side. Your load number, the BOL number, ship date, delivery date, PO numbers, freight charges, third party, showing the shipper, the consignee, third party billing information, the transport company is hauling the load, the number of pieces, etc. And this is a BOL. Again, if you need to send it to them, you can either print it or fax it to them, or click File, Save As, save it as a PDF to your desktop, open up your email source, and send it. All right, make sure you save your changes. That will remember that BOL that we've created. The next thing you can create by creating this load is a customer load confirmation. Okay, so say you and your customer had a verbal communication about this, but you wanted to send it over to them to make sure everything is correct. You can open up a customer rate and load confirmation. Again, your carrier, nor does your company driver or brokered load see this. Okay, customer rate and load agreement. It shows to your customer who the dispatcher is taking down all of this information, the payment terms that you have with your customer, their work order number, the customer's name, contact, phone number, fax if it was there, agreed rate. It shows the shipper's information, consignee, any customer notes, again, that are added through preferences and notes. These are permanent notes that show up every time. And then the load breakdown, and then the container number if need be. Okay, and that was through other numbers. All right, simple as that. So once we have created our load, we can save it. And then once the load moves on, we can make that load dispatched. Again, it opens up my pop-up notification, sending my customer a notification, letting them know that that load is dispatched. All right, and then we continue that load right through to dispatch or covered or completed. We're going to go completed, and it disappears. It is going to the delivered and completed section. Okay, then this becomes the accounting person's job. They can go to accounting manager, and invoice the load from there. It is as simple as that. All right, so we just touched on an external carrier load. We are just going to show you what a company driver load would look like. And the difference is carrier driver. With company driver, we have the driver's name, which we can select from our drop-down, equipment type, their truck or trailer number. Once added, that will show up on a rate and load confirmation. If you guys are using IFTA, make sure when you select your truck, in the little house beside shipper, you're using the location where that truck emptied out. So in this case, he emptied out in Penetang-Machine, Ontario. We're going to send him empty to Florida to pick up a load, and then he's going back to Penetang-Machine, Ontario. Okay, and a rate and load confirmation will look like this. So everything is exactly the same, except for you have a company driver. So this is what your rate and load confirmation would look like for a company driver load. All right. Again, you have your company logo up in the top left-hand side. You have a rate and load confirmation, the dispatcher's name and information, the driver's name, their mobile number, email address, equipment type that is required, truck and trailer number. Again, the same information for the shipper and consignee. Make sure you use the times and dates, especially if you pick up and deliver on the same day. And it is very important for IFTA for the fuel tax purposes. And then you have your dispatch notes. And because the driver's getting paid per mile, I have the driver mile rate down at the bottom. And he's going to make $7.10 to do this load. Again, it's as simple as that. All right, and that is what the difference is between a external carrier load or a company driver load. Okay, so that pretty much concludes us for getting started. We do have the administration under customers, under shippers, consignees. This is your database. Now, when you're inside of an actual pending or open active load, you can add a new bill to, a new carrier, shipper, consignee live on the go. Once saved, then you've got the capability of just typing in the first couple of initials into the box. It'll automatically populate. Okay, as easy as that. We are just going to briefly, before I let you go, touch on a couple of other types of loads. This more pertains towards, well, actually, it could cover both of an external carrier load or a company driver load. Okay, under new pending load, we're going to keep it as a carrier load. You can have a multiple carrier load where you get carrier number 1, carrier number 2, and carrier number 3. Only up to 3 carriers can we have on a load. It starts out with the load information, the bill to. So I got Andy streaming. He's picking up in Coconut Grove, Florida. He's going to Penetang. Driver number 1 started out of Miami, got the load, and made it to Georgia. And he had to pass that load off to somebody else. Driver number 2 picked it up in Georgia, brought it to Detroit. Driver number 3 picked it up from Detroit and carried it on. This is a multiple carrier load. By clicking on the letters M, then you just select the drop down, either it's assign later or multiple carrier, and then it gives you these boxes up above. The same thing goes for those of you that are using company drivers. So we got a company driver, so Andy's doing the load presently, and then we find out Andy gets to the border and he can't make it across. I now need to have a multiple driver load. The load information stays the same. So for the billing purposes, the customer does not need to know that driver number 1 couldn't cross the border. So he picked the load up in Coconut Grove, Florida, and made it to Detroit. Driver number 2 picked that load up in Detroit and continued it on to Penetang, Ontario. As well, you can add up to 3 drivers. That's it. That's all. Okay? So that is your multiple driver or multiple customer loads.
Thanks for tuning in to a step-by-step tutorial on how to create and manage loads within ITS Dispatch. If you have any questions, please reach out to customer support at 1-888-338-9656.